Welcome to Literary Deep Dives and Discussions. Today we are starting a brand new series called Who Wrote It? 4 authors, 4 pages. So I've joined with me 3 other fellow writers before this podcast. We all submitted a single page of our work. Those pages have been assigned numbers 1 through 4. And what nobody here knows is which author wrote which page. So by the end of this episode, we're going to find out how well we can guess each other's writing styles without having ever read each other's writings. So here's how this episode is going to unfold. We're going to begin with introductions. Each author will briefly share their name, their genre, who they write for, and 1 or 2 interesting details about themselves or their series, and where readers can find them. That's going to kind of give us a little sense of who's sitting at this table today. After introductions, we'll move to the reading and guessing portion. This is going to go in numerical order based on the pages signed. So for each page, the assigned reader will read the page out loud. The group will briefly discuss it, initial impressions mostly, and then we're going to guess who wrote that page. However, the true author will remain silent and unrevealed at this point in time. We will then repeat the process until all 4 pages have been read and guessed. Then we will have the reveal portion of the podcast. We'll return again to page numbers 1 through 4. For each page, I will announce the group's overall consensus, and then the author will reveal themselves, and we will go forward at that point. Introductions. Let's start off with Benedict.
All right. Hello, I am Benedict Mailhot, the 16-year-old author of 2 science fiction books, Prophecy and Prophecy 2. The genre is science fiction, a lot of emphasis on adventure. I sometimes describe it as having like superhero vibes. And my target reader is young adults and teenagers who want clean, adventurous science fiction stories. I started writing when I was 14 and published when I was 15, and I intend for my prophecy series to be 10 books long.
Where can readers find your books?
Currently, I have only published on Amazon, so by searching prophecy series, you'll typically be able to find my books, and searching prophecy and my name typically gets my works in the algorithm a little better.
Super. Thank you, Benedict. All right, let's move next to Rebecca.
I'm Rebecca Loomis. My pen name is R. Loomis. I write fantasy for young adults and teens. Again, teens who are wanting books that don't have that explicit content. The little blur you saw go past was my dog, Treble Clef. She loves hanging out with me. I also have a dystopian novel that I'm working on, as well as a dark academia novel. But currently, my fantasy trilogy is out. My target reader really is teens who are looking for a fantasy book that they can get lost in without having to deal with all the extra stuff that a lot of books have today. Couple of things interesting about me. I'm a music teacher. I love singing and playing ukulele, and I write in my free time. And as far as my book series go, my book is set in Texas, which is where I grew up. And so it has a lot of Texas things in it, just little tidbits here and there to really tie it in. My books are available anywhere books are sold online and in bookstores across the US, and any bookstore can order it as well. And then if you want signed copies of my books, other than in-person events, they're available on rloomisbooks.com.
Super. You know, I was going to ask about the dog's name, but you answered that with being a music teacher.
Oh, and I didn't say the titles of my books. My books are Touch of Kindness, Taste of Bravery, and Voice of Change is going to release on March 31st.
Super. That's coming up real fast.
So I'm a 2-timed self-published author. Similar to Ben, I'm also 16. I write poetry and like literary fiction. Currently, I'm working on a novel, so kind of sticking with that literary category. Similar, I focus with like young adults and teenagers. I guess like my fun tidbit about me is that like my goal with my books is to kind of show Christian values without being like in your face about it. Because that's something that's very near and dear to me. My 2 poetry books can be found on Amazon, and my second one, which just released last week, is called 5 More Questions, and that one can be found both on Amazon and on Books A Million.
Super. Wow. I'm going to be looking all these books up. I have Benedict's on my to-buy list, but super. I am sensing a theme across the board here that we all write clean books, and I love that. I'm the odd duck out. I write mainly for adults. Young adults could read my books. They are clean enough. They are proper enough. I just aim them more for adults because the subject matter tends to hit home more with those who have lived a couple years longer. But my author name is A.L. Liskey. My genre is mystery thriller or speculative mystery thriller. My main audience is mostly for those who like sophisticated detective fiction in the tradition of classical investigative narratives. So anybody who likes those vague atmospheres, moral tension, layered conspiracies, and character-driven mystery, that is who I write for. Interesting things about me is I am actually a nonfiction fanatic. That is mostly what I read is philosophy, theology, and health studies. So it's kind of odd that I write fiction altogether, but at the same time, I have always been seriously obsessed with crime film noir. So mystery is like constantly living in my life. So maybe I was actually meant to be a fiction writer. I don't know. Where readers can find me is mainly on Amazon. I do sell direct through my website, alliskey.com, and we are working on an audiobook as we near the release of The Fallacy Web, my second book. We're super excited. Since we've introduced everybody, that'll give anybody watching a little idea of what to look for as we start reading these pages. And I would like to invite any viewers to go ahead and guess along with us and let us know at the end, especially if you were surprised by anything. Who has page number 1?
That's me.
All right, take it off, Rebecca.
All right, here is page number 1. Who might that gorgeous girl be? McNamara is inches behind me, and I trip over the side of the boat in surprise. He grabs my waist to keep me from falling backwards and pulls me toward him, his arm muscles flexing under my weight. Once I'm righted and on both feet, I push him away. Stop sneaking up on me! His eyes drink me in. It's not my fault you don't pay attention to your surroundings, love. And stop calling me love while you're at it. I'm engaged. I find that hard to believe. I put a hand on my hip. Why's that? Because the captain steps closer to me and I can't retreat anymore or I'll be swimming with the fishes. Your supposed fiancé is either non-existent or a complete idiot. What do you mean? I ask, and annoyingly, my skin heats at how close he is to me. His chest is mere inches from mine and all I can smell is him, a mixture of whiskey and ginger. You're a beautiful woman on a ship with hundreds of men. Any number of things could happen to you, and yet this lover of yours is nowhere to be found. If you were mine, I wouldn't let you out of my sight. My head tilts at his brozenness. But I'm not yours, and I never will be. I step around him and pointedly keep my eyes on the sails ahead. Believe what you want about my fiancé, but I won't be some damsel you win over in a day. Behind me, he laughs, and it sets my teeth on edge. 1 day, 2, it doesn't matter. Winning over damsels is a specialty of mine. I spin around to tell him to keep drinking, but he's already walking back to the wheel, taking a swig of his silver flask as he goes. A vicious part of me wants to follow him and slap his too handsome face.
Initial thoughts?
Sounds fun.
It does. My head's like trying to figure out, is this like pirates or like some old cavalry?
Sounds like pirates. And she sounds dedicated to her fiancé.
That is a plus, yes.
And a little sassy.
I mean, my first question is, do you do audiobooks for like anybody's books? Because like the way that you're reading this is very professional.
Oh, I was in theater in high school and college. I love reading aloud. I've never done audiobooks, but I've done some audio dramas.
That explains it. Well, you're very good at it.
I enjoy doing it. It's fun.
Anybody have any guesses who wrote it?
I think my guess would be you are Loomis.
Okay, so we got one for Rebecca.
Yeah, I take the same stance.
Okay, Kayla's going Rebecca as well. Oh, put pressure on me. Well, I know it's not Benedict. I'm probably going to go with Rebecca as well. What are you going with, Rebecca?
I don't know. I'll go for Kayla.
Kayla. All right.
The stark whiteness engulfed her, blinding her momentarily. Then only the metal door remained, its knob oddly melted into a viscous liquid form. Hastings, looking frantic, ran toward it, desperate to grab hold, only for the knob to slip through his fingers, melting completely. Bizarre lines next appeared, gray drips tracing the outline of a room, as if drawn in liquid. As the lines gathered, they solidified into walls, and the weary Hastings touched them, causing bright red to spring from the surface at his touch, contrasting sharply with the opposing walls. In a blink, the scene went black, then returned to full view with some movement. The room had begun to rotate slowly, becoming flipped, its floor rising, the right wall descending, twisting as if someone were turning a cube. Hastings' feet remained firmly on the ground, moving with the room, but Azure did not. Perhaps it was because she was not the dreamer and had not yet been registered by Hastings' subconscious mind. Still, she tried to use the motion to reach him, only to be cut off. A chair in the center of the room refused to stay grounded. It clanged against the wall, which had now become floor, then ricocheted from surface to surface, a volatile object that both Azure and Hastings were forced to dodge. If that were not enough trouble, several objects and colors joined the chaotic dance, ricocheting off the walls as the room continued to twist. Hastings weaved through the flying debris, occasionally knocked down by one. Azure, in her own attempts to dodge, focused sharply on the objects only to watch them shift from simple color blurs in furniture to strange fish-shaped creatures with jagged teeth and glowing red eyes. One of these creatures latched onto Hastings, sinking its teeth into his flesh. He screamed as one by one the company attached themselves to him, gnawing at his skin.
Impressions.
Very vivid.
I found the apparently moving room to be quite interesting.
It did sound fascinating. If I'm being honest, I'm kind of second guessing my first guess. I'm thinking Rebecca wrote this one and Kayla wrote the first one. So I might have to change my answers, which, by the way, you can do. I'm okay with you changing your answers if you want.
I think it's you.
Hey, Kayla's going to guess for me.
Yeah, I'm
One
going to
for
guess
Rebecca.
for you as well.
2 for me.
I'm also guessing for you.
Wow, it's like winning the lottery. Well, I have page number 3. I read very monotone, so don't compare me to Rebecca because she's awesome. They tell me to get over it. They say it's just a phase. A moment in time, a fire has been lit. It burns through the craze. Rewriting my story in all the best ways. Stripping away my worries. I hope that it stays. But they say that it is just a phase. That soon I'll forget it all, like a complicated maze. I'm actually not that tall. The next part is called Walleye. I don't see him at Mass anymore, and she's got a real-world job. She works at a grocery store, and he's rebuking the snobs. She's moved across the country, and he's moved schools. He no longer thinks life is funny, and she's following the rules. While I study math and science, she's having her best day. While I learn about finance, he's living what they say. I stay trapped in these walls as they all move away. They grow up and tall while I struggle to sway. It's kind of deep, that last one. I feel like letting go of something, bring it back.
I gotta say, I think the emotion in the rhyming certainly stuck out to me. The rhyming was more of the way that songs are done than sometimes when I say rhyming, I immediately think Dr. Seuss, but this time I was thinking heartfelt song.
I have been looking at those over the last couple days and kind of thinking, what is the maze in my life? So it does have me thinking, which is interesting to me because I don't read a lot of poetry. Maybe I should. Any guesses?
Kayla.
Say, I'm voting on Ben.
I'm voting on Kayla.
I'll give a vote for Ben too. So we got 2 Kayla, 2 Ben. All right, page number 4.
I went on. You're reacting to this in the worst way. Sure, it would be easier to eliminate us. Sure, it would be easier to abuse a kid and turn him into the ultimate agent you need for his start. Sure, there's a greater chance of saving the world by doing that. But that doesn't make it right. You never gave us a chance. You never gave me a life. What you're doing is beyond wrong. I know that you want to save the world. I do too. But this isn't the way to do it. You got to make your chances. You got to take the risk. You have to give the enemy a chance before you kill them. Maybe you'll be able to change them. And I know that it is impossible because it happened to me. I was supposed to help you do this, help you make those teenagers, but then Rainey came into my life. He changed me. He saved me. He showed me a better way of solving problems. He showed me kindness, something I don't think I've experienced enough of before. After escaping that island, I still thought the same way I used to, before waking up, but Rainey changed that. Rainey healed the broken enemy, turning him into me. People can change for the better. Even if it's risky, you still have to try. She looked like she was thinking about that, and for a second there, I thought I got through to her. But then she pressed the hope as he said, I wouldn't have been able to change them. They weren't necessarily acting with evil intentions, but that doesn't mean they weren't going to. They were going to unknowingly bring about the end of the world, but eventually they were going to believe that the government and world leaders would tell them. They were going to help recreate the ancient times' greatest mistake. I couldn't sit back and let that happen. I'm sorry it looks the way it does, and I'm sorry you had to get attached to them. But this is the only way. It's not like this is the first time something like this has happened before. Something very similar happened, and in the end, the government decided to eliminate all the people with abilities. Maybe one day, if you come back with me, if you rejoin me on the right side, I'll teach you about that. I ignored that last part. She was trying to sidetrack me, and she was heavily sugarcoating that. It was way more complex than she'd explained. It was my turn to say something then. I'm not going to use my training the way you intended me to. I'm not going to hunt down and destroy the prophecy, but in doing so, I'm also not going to end the world. Destroying the prophecy would be easier, but I'm going to do something else. I'm going to fix the prophecy. I'm going to guide the prophecy. I'm going to show them kindness, and I'm going to change them. I'm not going to destroy the prophecy. I'm going to fix it.
Hey, it's very powerful.
It sounded a little bit like a Magneto talking from X-Men.
Superhero vibes.
Or anti-hero vibes a little bit.
I like how you read that as well, Kayla. There's a point to that being made, very powerful point. Well, my money's on Ben.
Benedict.
Same.
So it looks like our overall consensus is the majority thinks that Rebecca's page 1, I am page 2, Kayla page 3, and Ben page 4. So now let's find out if we nailed it or if our writing instinct is off. So page 1, who wrote that?
Me.
Rebecca. Well, tell us a little bit about it.
It comes from the second book in my trilogy. My 3 books. It's crazy. I'm holding them all in my hands. I just got this one in. In the first book, my main character, Dory, she's transported to a magical world and told that she's engaged to a prince, whether she wants to be or not. Then in book 2, she's searching for that prince, and she ends up having to deal with dragons, mermaids, pirates, the works. And in the scene that I shared, what's happening is Dory just got on a ship with sailors, and she's like, look, whenever this happens, she's talking to a friend on a magical phone, and that's why McNamara, the captain, is looking over her shoulder, and she's like, wait, what? And she almost falls into the water. And she is very, very much dedicated to her fiance, but this guy is also very attractive, but also infuriating. And she's very annoyed with him at this point in the story. And the reason I chose this scene is because it was so much fun to write. I loved writing the character of Liam McNamara. He's fun. I also love my main character, but Liam was just like a fun character to write. What was the writing experience like? Honestly, wild is probably what I would say. The first book in my trilogy, I never planned on writing a book. And then one night I'd been reading a bunch of books beforehand, and I didn't have a book to read that day. That evening, I tried to go to sleep, and this dream of a pale hand rising from a grave started playing in my head. And so I got up, I started writing this book. 2 weeks later, I had the first draft, and now I have a trilogy.
And you have it in your hands.
I know, they won't be in my hands. It's an actual trilogy. After Voice of Change, that there will be different series, but this one, the Otherworld trilogy, will be complete.
It's super exciting, having all that, and then the story itself. So I'm just curious, trying to follow along that. Who is her fiance?
Spoilers.
That's fair.
So this is the first book in the trilogy. The one I shared a scene from is from the second book in the trilogy. If you read the first book in the trilogy, you will know that answer. But spoilers.
So I've got to read it. Got it.
You can really relate to how amazing it is to just hold your own book.
Yeah.
They're my babies.
And then to have another on the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, with these two, they've one's been out since 2024, and this one came out in September, and then this one is coming out at the end of March. But now that I get to hold it in my hands, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you self-publish, or is that manufactured by publishers?
Okay, so long story short, this book was traditionally published by a small press publisher. End of 2024, they went under and they closed their doors, leaving me in the lurch. So I self-published both of these and did all the work.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I did not design the covers. I have a cover designer. Her name is Maria Spada. She is incredible. I love her. And if anyone needs her info, I can give it to you because she's amazing. Maria Spada did both of these covers, and yeah. And also, now that I'm self-published, I could have a friend actually design a map for me.
I guess I would have a question as well. In your opinion, How did self-publishing go for you? Like, how was it hard, or did you have unexpected delays?
So that's a tricky question. Some things have gone really, really well. Some things have been really tricky and have been learning experiences. My experience publishing Taste of Bravery, the second book in the trilogy, that honestly went pretty smoothly. Everything was kind of everything fell into place pretty well. Then for my third book in the trilogy, Voice of Change, which is the one coming out in March, I've had a couple of hiccups with that one. And the reason for that is because I took my pre-order window and I took it from 3 months and pushed it to 2, because the reason I did that, I was planning on releasing Voice of Change at the end of April, but then I got invited to be a part of Teen Book Fest by the Bay in Corpus Christi mid-April, and I wanted the trilogy out by then. So I took my pre-order window and shortened it, and because of that, that's made things a little bit more stressful of being like, oh, are my books going to come in? I have to get all this done. So my biggest suggestion to anyone self-publishing, do 3 months of pre-order window. Give yourself that time, because you don't want to be stressed, because like I am currently.
I haven't done a pre-order window yet, but I'm getting ready to, so that is helpful for me.
Seriously.
So my question is, having done traditional publishing and now indie publishing, would you ever go back?
That again is a tricky question. I don't think I would go back to a small press publisher, simply because of the issues I did have with the one that closed. For example, this cover, I did not see this cover until it was live on their website. I had no input. They just posted it. Then it was available to pre-order. And I was like, wait, what? That's my cover? I've never even seen it. And just little things like that. I love being in control. For my future novels, my dystopian and my dark academia, I have looked into getting an agent, to getting into one of the larger publishing houses. But more and more, I've heard that agents for young adult, for teen fiction, they are searching for those explicit scenes. And if you don't have I don't want to get tagged or anything, but if you don't have a spicy scene in your book, then agents won't even pick you up. And that is,
they wouldn't like me.
Yeah, that's just so sad to me, because I know whenever I was a teenager, I was searching for books that I knew would be safe. And that's one of the reasons I wrote this series. And so while I think it'd be amazing to, like, you know, I'm part of the one of the big publishing houses, I also don't want to compromise my values to do that.
I love that. So I actually sit on the board of a nonprofit that does healthy relationship education across Wyoming. One of the saddest things to me ever since I've become an author is finding a lot of YA stuff that is spicy, that's full of smut. They don't seem to realize that, yeah, it's fiction and they're supposed to learn the real life stuff in real life, but they don't teach this stuff in school. They don't teach proper relationships anywhere. So all these kids are reading is smut and spicy fiction. And then you look at the divorce rates, the intimate partner violence rates, the domestic violence rates, and they keep going higher and higher alongside suicide rates. And it's just like, this is a problem that contributes, is writing spice and smut. So I really appreciate authors like all three of you, and I guess myself as well, that choose to write clean, to put good things out there so that people can learn healthy and real values.
One of the biggest issues with spice in YA literature is 9 times out of 10, it's not a healthy relationship. It's glorified abuse, and that's not okay. In my book, without spoiling anything, there is a beautiful romance without the explicit content, and they respect each other. Sure, they have arguments, but they work through that together, and it makes their relationship stronger.
I'm definitely, I'm so excited to check out all your books. Once I move to Missouri, I'm getting a brand new bookshelf, and everybody that's been on my podcast, their books will grace that bookshelf as soon as I can.
I have dedicated a section to my bookshelf to buying indie author books of authors that I'm following on Instagram. So I like that idea. All
right. Page number 2. That was me. I actually didn't know which page I submitted to what group. My husband just dished them out. So great. I feel blindsided. Yeah, you started reading. I'm like, this sounds familiar. I don't have one. I swear I used to, but once I moved to the Philippines, they talk with their eyebrows. And ever since then, like I come back to the US and I don't have it anymore. So darn. Yeah. Gosh, that scene. What's happening in that story? That is a dream happening during a man's drug withdrawal. So a little bit about my book is she is an investigator that goes into people's minds, into their dreams to investigate. And this particular man whose head she's in was the former colleague of her mentor who's been on sick leave, but he's actually trying to sabotage a part of the case that she's investigating. So she goes in to figure out what he's doing. Turns out he's been taking all these drugs because he also wants to be able to investigate in people's dreams, and that's not how it works. So there is a drug withdrawal. Why did I choose that scene? I guess I submitted that because it showcases more of the thriller aspect of my book. There's often a lot of confusion with my readers because my book blends a lot of genres. It's got mainly mystery. There's elements of thriller. There's elements of romance. And so they're like, which is it? And well, it's technically mystery thriller. So I'm trying to highlight that. And the vivid imagery is just my style. The writing experience for it was interesting because the actual dreams in the book are based off of real dreams that I have had. Now, I've never had a drug withdrawal, never been on drugs except for, surgery, painkillers, the typical stuff. And even then I didn't really like to take them. But at that point of time in my life, I'd been an insomniac for several years, hadn't had any dreams. And then one night I just have this very vivid dream with all this crazy stuff happening. And I thought to myself, this is like a horror movie. What is going on? So I woke up, wrote it down in my journal, didn't think about it again until I was writing the book. And it was like, hey, that dream matches this scene. That's kind of where it went in. And I was just thinking how interesting it is for me when I was writing, God would just bring back these memories and these dreams that I would have. And I just plopped them right in and it worked very nicely. That is kind of a fun behind the scene insight as well.
The best things come from dreams.
They do. Yeah, you would know. You would know.
Was that from your first or upcoming second book?
That is from my first. So I know that you are reading it. So
yeah,
spoiler. It's definitely one of the more intense dreams.
I remember when I got it, I was like, okay, the name Hastings is familiar, but I don't know if that's just me or if I haven't read that yet.
Oh, I should probably tell you, since you do have the book, I just made a character list. It's downloadable on my website. The newer versions have it in the index, but since you got it before that was published.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Well, let's go to page number 3, shall we?
That was me.
I knew it.
I know. I was really debating on whether I wanted to submit like one of my fictional pieces or like my poetry, which is very much based on my real experiences. But I felt like the poetry really just sums me up as a writer, but also as a person. Definitely with the first one, Amaze. It's kind of this is more of like a outside kind of view when I was writing it of just like society's expectations, and just like kind of breaking away from that and like paving your own path. I think like kind of similar to what we were all talking about with like how we don't want our books to be explicit and all of that. Can kind of be a good example of that, I think. And then the second one there, While I, this one, I chose this one because it really like illustrates my Christian values, as well as kind of like that feeling of falling behind, which I think like so many people can relate to, no matter like kind of what walk of life that you're in. It's still really easy to compare yourself to really anybody else because most people seem like they're doing better, but you don't really know if they are or not. And that was just kind of my take on it.
I like that. You're right. Comparison is the huge issue of society, and it's also the thief of joy, but we all do it. I'm curious about the walleye, because like there's a guy that you don't see at mass anymore, this lady with a job. So in my head, I'm thinking, is this like a love triangle going on, or is it just an observation?
No, those are just my friends. Like, my best friend was super close, and he went to a new school, and it was like, he's too cool for me. He's like, we used to go to mass together every week, and he just stopped. And then like there's this girl that I'm like sort of friends with, and like we do all the same stuff. We spend half of our life together, but like we just never talk. And like I stopped seeing her once he got a job, and all that.
I love
that's a painful experience.
I love how you incorporate your real life, like what you're dealing with in your life, into your poetry. I think that's beautiful. and very vulnerable.
Thank you. Yeah, my real goal with it is to kind of be realistic. Which is very different than I write fiction and then I also write my life. But I think when it's that true, more people are gonna be able to relate to it.
I actually have your second book right here on my desk, and from reading the first one and what I've done so far of the second one, I can tell that actual emotions were put into writing it. So kudos on representing that.
Thank you.
Certainly something that's needed nowadays is that real human experience. I do try to put those in my books as well, but poetry has a way of really bringing it home directly. So I find that very, very powerful. But also what you're saying about those being friends and them, disappearing after just small life changes and what happened, we were so close. That kind of confusion is very relatable.
Yeah, it's always the bigger feelings. I just go home and I gotta write it, write it all down.
Well, let's go on to page number 4.
I have a really bad poker face.
Yeah.
And I also completely fell silent. Yeah. What was happening during that was main core character in my first book, Theo. It was kind of the climax of the book. I won't spoil too much or anything, but he was up against his current antagonist, the crazy spider lady. You'll learn why it's named that when you read it. And so she works for an agency partnered with a guy named the Illusioner, and they know that the human city, Beacon City, has forgotten pretty much all about the past, called the Ancient Times. And they're like, well, a whole lot of bad things happened, basically the end of the world, and if we forget about all that, who's to say it isn't going to happen again? So their main goal is to try to remind Beacon City of their mistakes in the past. Not forgetting your mistakes is a pretty good thing, except that they are not using good methods to do that. As Theo mentioned, they raised him to be nothing but a resource. They basically took his life away, and he got a second chance when he had his mind erased and escaped an island. Throughout the first book, he kind of learns what's going on, who he used to be, and he decides how he's going to handle the situation. He's not going to walk away from it, but he's also not going to do what the crazy spider lady is trying to do, which is hurting people just to bring about the greater good. And so he decides that even though it's going to be harder, even though it's going to hurt more, I'm going to help people using kindness, and I'm going to stand up when there's a bad thing. I'll recognize it and I'll stand against it. All of the other characters, which is 4 of the characters in A Laser Shooting Chicken, they were also all present, all of them hanging on to each other as they were being sucked into the void, which is a portal that one of the characters has an ability connected with. And he was hanging on to Crazy Spider Lady with just his prosthetic arm, and it was on the verge of falling apart as they fell in. The climax, are they going to be sucked in or are they going to make it out? And it was his pivotal moment of making his decision of who he's going to be.
It sounds wild. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know how that scene was I don't know how it's portrayed because I just cannot judge my own work.
Yeah, well, no, the spider lady, the chickens, what?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know where the laser chicken came from. It was just a random idea I had halfway through writing the book, and I was like, well, I want this to be a epic, heartfelt science fiction, but I want it to have a sense of quirkiness. And then the laser chicken kind of just became the representation of its humor, because it's a really weird thing. Yeah.
I love how it's on the back cover as well.
Yeah, I got it right here. Got my laser shooting chicken. It's hard to see because of glare.
Yeah, ever since you mentioned that during our podcast together, I've been waiting for the chicken. I told my mom about the chicken because she raises chickens and she's excited about the chicken. So
awesome. Yeah, I remember when I first released my books, a few of the people I knew, including the priest at my parish, they were all being like, okay, I can't wait to get to the laser chicken chapter. When's it going to be? And so I remember a few of my mom's friends who bought it and read it all messaged her the moment they got to the laser chicken chapter. So it was all at the same time, a couple people are like, yes, laser chicken.
So you mentioned something interesting, Benedict, and that's you don't know how your books sound, and having someone else read them out loud kind of helped you with that. So I was going to ask, since you brought it up, this is a question for all three of you. How is it for you hearing someone else read your work out loud? We can start with Rebecca, then go Ben, then go Kayla.
But I don't count.
You count, Rebecca. Have you ever had someone read it out loud?
Honestly, I don't think I have. I know people have read it, but I'm not sure. I guess that's true. I did. There was someone, they did a video where they read like a scene out loud, and it was really cool. Like, I wrote that. Well then, cool.
I'm going to buy your book and send you a video of me just reading a part of it out loud, just so you get that.
I think Kayla's been the first one to read it out loud for me to hear. My mom read it. Some of my sisters read it. Those are the only people who I would have overheard or whatever. Like, I heard them laugh in some of the funny parts, but yeah, I don't think I've heard it read before. I gotta say, it was kind of relieving to have someone other than my internal voice read it, because I kind of got a sense of how it sounded. It was mostly dialogue in that scene, I guess, but...
How about you, Kayla?
Yeah, most of, the people, in my life don't, read poetry. They're not a big fan of poetry, so I've never actually, heard somebody else read it. And I think, the general consensus when people do is, not a lot of people read poetry. So it's kind of, the rhythm, especially because in my head, when I'm writing it, I, will just kind of... It's supposed to kind of be accurate to, my speaking, which is not, the same speaking style for anybody else. So the, rhythm is always different, and I really like the way that you read it, because it was different, and that's, kind of your own, interpretation of it. That's how it's, in a process for you, so I really like that. But it's not, what I imagine it myself, which isn't bad.
There can be that difference in it when you have other folks read it out loud. I have readers sometimes will send me DMs with videos, and this is them reading a portion, and they'll say why or whatever. And that for me is always very intriguing, the different interpretations and takes on it. But it can be really fulfilling and helpful to have your book read out loud.
I know I said I haven't had people read it out loud really, but I have had my computer read my books out loud. That's one of the ways that I edit, is I just put the speech to text filter or text to speech filter. There we go. And I have my computer read it to me, and it reads in a completely monotone voice. It is so helpful catching things that I whenever I was editing my last book, it was reading along and it said a word and I paused and wait, what? I had misspelled a word and it was a different word. And my proofreader didn't even catch that. So I was so thankful that I had done this text-to-speech feature so I could catch little things like that. And also just the way the sentences flowed. Because sometimes in my head, I'm just like, ta-ta-ta, I know what's happening. But whenever you have a monotone voice reading it or a different voice reading it, you can actually hear things and it'll help you.
It's true. I use that feature as well for editing. And the little caveat I have on it, though, because I use it on Microsoft Word, and they do have the new voices now that aren't so monotone, but they cut the S's off. So I'm always stopping and looking over. I'm like, I swear I wrote speaks instead of speak. And it turns out I did. They just didn't pronounce it right. And I'm like, what is up with you? But it is so helpful. And it kind of reminds me of advice I was given back when I was in third grade. A teacher told me, if you want to know if your essay sounds good, read it back to yourself in a baby voice.
Yes, reading it in a different voice, just so you can hear it. And because we're all writers. Whenever we're writing something, it gets stuck in our head. And that's one of the reasons I always put my manuscripts away for at least a few weeks before I get them back out and start editing. Because otherwise, I'm too close to the story.
I'm taking notes right now.
Yeah, that's I didn't ever take a break from writing to editing with the Lattice Scheme, but I did do that with the Fallacy Web. I have been writing, I'm calling it an anti-romance. It's just a diabolical romantic comedy, but it's kind of a free thing going on for whoever pre-orders my book. So I've been doing that instead. And next week I get back into editing the Fallacy Web, and having that break, I wish I had done that for the first book. It makes such a difference. Stephen
King recommends 2 months putting it away. And I don't know if I've ever done actually 2 months, but I have done around a month before. And I saw so many things that I missed just putting away for those weeks.
That also requires a lot of patience, though. So many authors, especially on the socials, they struggle to not write, or they struggle to get themselves to write. There's like this extreme side of everything. I'm either glued to the computer or I'm just not able to glue to the computer.
I have this problem where like I want my first draft to be like the finished perfect thing. Like I'm not in a rush to finish it, but I want it to be perfect immediately. Like I will spend so long on just this tiny portion because I'm just not satisfied. That's not realistic, you know? I need to like finish it through, take some time, take a break, you know, and I just have so much trouble with that.
I think everybody starts there, honestly. I know I did, but over time, like, I have come to really love the editing process. Like, I get sad when editing is over. Yeah, you take your book and you make it into a greater and greater version. It's amazing to watch what it becomes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love the editing process. I just struggle to read it when I'm not supposed to be editing it. First, rough draft, and then I want to be in that editing phase.
It's hard for me to transition from whenever I've been editing something for a while and then it's off, it's out of my hands, and then I need to get back to writing. That is very hard for me because I'm still in editing mode in my brain. And so whenever I'm trying to write something new, every single sentence, I'm like, wait, but I could rephrase that. Oh, then I could change this. And my number one advice to every writer out there is just get the words on the paper. Don't edit it until you're done. Because if you start editing while you're writing it, you are never going to finish.
But see, that's so much easier said than done.
Yes, it is. It's hard. I'm currently there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I may have skipped over a couple of the little tidbits I was supposed to share for that scene of mine. When I was trying to choose which scene to pick, I decided to go with the first book because that just kind of felt reasonable to me. But there was like a lot of scenes in that book, and with 5 character point of views, I wasn't entirely sure where to start. Because I was like, okay, do I want to go for a bit of a humorous side? Do I want to go for a heartfelt side? Do I want to go for one where everyone's talking? But that sounded a little too confusing. So I guess I just went with the core protagonist and his big decision. And I mean, I don't know if that's the greatest representation of my book. When I was writing my book, I started off saying, okay, I'm going to make 10 books. So now I'm like, maybe I should have put a little more dedication to mood in the first one. This scene was the closest it seemed I could, like, it felt like this scene was the closest I could get the feel and the meaning of the book. Then the writing experience, to be honest, I don't actually remember what was going through my head when I was writing it, and that might partially be because I don't spend very much time planning. The way I write is like, okay, I'm going to write a book. This is how it begins. This is how it ends. This is a bunch of interesting filler things. And then, like, I'd say at least 60% of writing is literally like making up what's on the page in the moment. I'm currently writing my 3rd book, and I'm planning the chapter or the one after the next on the spot. And I don't even, like, for my 3rd one, I don't even know how the climactic ending is going to be summed up. But that's how, I didn't know how the climax was going to work for the last 2, but the way I write, flying by the seat of my pants, as my mom says, it just seems to work, so I try not to doubt it. For my first book, I went with 5 characters. I don't really know why, but like each one just, they're like their own person. I think they are pretty written vividly, and so I wanted to do all their point of views all at once. I hope it's not too confusing. But then writing the 2nd book, I was like, okay, I should probably put a little more emphasis on certain characters per book. But then that was a little like hypocritical because I ended up introducing 3 more characters in the 2nd book. And so it's like the 2nd book is split up into the point of view of a new character, Liz Lazigno, and Theo. And so I'm like, okay, I got 9 characters. I need to make them all have their own time in the 3rd book. Where is this going to go?
It's going to be a big book.
Yeah. And like, I try not to forget about the laser chicken. Like, writing the 2nd book and the 3rd one, the laser chicken's like my side character, I guess. It's like the pet of the group, but I kept accidentally forgetting where it was in a scene. And so I kind of like, for the scenes that she was with a robot character named Roger, I kind of just like paired them up like He's a robot who his entire body's like hollow. He's like a big compartment. And so he just keeps Lattice Chicken in the compartment whenever she's not running around. And like I kind of made him have a slight attachment to her so that a robot character and its pet kind of relationship to try to avoid forgetting where the chicken was in the scene. But that also came out as a bit of a like comedy aspect.
You always learn as you go, and that's just part of the writing journey, which actually begs the question again to all three of you. What have you learned about yourself throughout your writing journey?
You can say whatever you want and nobody's going to judge you. I mean, they might, but you can't see them.
We're behind the pages. 2 years ago, I had no idea where my interests lay. I just knew that I really liked creating little imaginary scenarios and characters and stories. And to be honest, I don't really remember why I took up writing, but when I did, it just ended up being like my most favorite thing to do, and that's pretty much the only hobby I have now. Writing like a science fiction series with heartfelt and humorous scenes and stuff, I don't quite know where to balance out all of the different emotions. So I've tried to channel some of my own, especially into the third book. I don't actually know how well that's going to be portrayed, but I might see some growth maybe.
I guess something I've learned about myself is that I have a lot of stories to tell, and I just didn't know it. I've always loved storytelling. I've always loved writing, but I never knew I would write a book. And now that I've started, I can't stop. And I think that's kind of cool.
Originally, I didn't like for a long time, I didn't like poetry. I didn't like reading poetry. I didn't like writing it. It just didn't really, have a place in, my world. But then, there's just kind of, this one, thing that happened, and I wanted to express myself. And so, at that point in my life, I would have, kind of just journaled or something. But for some reason, that day, I just decided to take on, a poetry form. And then, I kind of fell in love with it and, just started, writing poems every day just about, the most minute things to the big stuff as well.
That seems to be a common thread, is that we find ourselves in writing. It's a part of ourselves that sometimes we didn't know that we had, and it just comes out. And once it does, it's got you, kind of like a bug. It's there forever. And I love hearing all of the things that you've all shared. It's been wonderful to hear different advice, different takes. Your writing, I love seeing all the writing because I don't read a lot of fiction. So being exposed to it is making me excited to get back into reading fiction. So I thank you so much for that. Just in closing for this podcast, thank you for joining this episode of Literary Deep Dives and Discussions. Very grateful for your support for other indie authors. Please check out the links below to the books of the indie authors that I had present on my show today. It would really help out the community to spread word about their books, to support them on their socials, any way that you can to help these authors grow. Subscribe to this channel to continue to support indie authors as we build a community together. In the coming weeks, we'll continue to offer one-on-one interviews as well as continuations of the 4 authors who wrote it series. We'll see you next week.